The usability of cell phones has changed and evolved over time. We wondered, what makes a cell phone usable? How do cell phones play a role in journalistic coverage today? Why do people use cell phones the way they do? In our semester-long research on cell phone usability, we tried to answer these important questions. The goal of our group this semester was to find out how people use their cellular phones, what factors, both broad and specific, affect the way people use their mobile technology, and how people plan to use their cell phone technology in the future. We define usability as encompassing a cell phone's features and its intuitiveness, and also how consumers use their phones. We began our research doing secondary reports on cell phone usability history. We then conducted 8 face-to-face research interviews earlier this semester, talking to different types of people about how they use their cell phones. We followed up with a few street-side Q&As to support our info. How do you use your cell phone?
Calling people. No, I also do some little web browsing and mail and stuff like that, but I'd say 50% of the time is probably actually making phone calls. Probably a quarter of the time is texting, and then the rest of the time is on the interwebs.
Probably for text messaging. I think I text more than I call anybody, which might be kind of sad, but I call people sometimes, but it's mostly for like professional reasons, like my rent or my job or my parents. So, texting.
Talk to friends.
To call family.
Email.
I use my cell phone the most for texting and phone calls and checking voicemails.
I use my phone for email. I have a BlackBerry, so.
After that, we compiled a survey along with the rest of our research class based upon individual results and 2 focus groups. We found a significant disconnect among students and non-students on how they use their cell phones on a basic level. Do you use your cell phone for news coverage?
To look up news stories. Yes, sometimes. I wouldn't say that's a main use of my phone. I would say that I usually like to take my time and use that on the internet instead. Like I follow on Twitter and stuff like that through my phone and sites like CNN, but I wouldn't say that I use my phone as a primary source to look up news stories. No.
No. The internet costs money. So, I mean, unless I get like a text message about it, which I don't really know how to get those, but I'd be into that maybe. But yeah, I don't have the internet.
Nope. My cell phone, I cannot do that. It's one of those 1995 models.
No. No, I don't have internet access.
It makes me feel like I know what's going on, like I feel connected. I would look at them anyways on my computer, but with the cell phone, I can be anywhere and look at them. Like I was waiting for him and looking up news stories on the internet.
Yes, I use my phone for the news. I use my phone to check the weather, check sports scores, everything. I use the internet all the time.
Yes, I have CNN and I think BBC both send me news updates, so.
Most non-students indicated that they used their phones most for calling, while majority of students indicated their highest interest was texting. 48.9% of survey respondents replied they used text messaging very frequently. All age groups in the survey indicated they were highly interested in acquiring a smartphone. However, only 41% of all respondents had a smartphone, and only 38% of students had a smartphone. 75% of phone users who didn't have a smartphone planned on getting one in the next 2 years. We found that people of all ages in our survey considered screen size as a very important aspect in making a cell phone easier to use, with the most popular screen size being the smartphone size. Keyboard size was also a great concern to cell phone users, and this was the most important issue to our group's individual interviews. QWERTY was the most popular format. The future of cell phone use and how this will affect news coverage is still unclear. From our surveys and interviews, younger generations seem to be more open than non-students to using their phones for new and creative purposes. Non-students were looking for security, camera features, and GPS capability. Our research led us to other questions about cell phone usability and news coverage. How will news outlets get consumers to pay for news content? What kind of news content should be created for large screen versus smaller screens? How can journalists and researchers change those with the mentality that they will never use cell phones for news coverage? Will younger generations be more likely to consume news content on their cell phones because of their texting habits? "46% of survey respondents said they would need at least a 2x3 or smartphone-sized screen to frequently read books or newspapers on a mobile phone.